Greetings, people of the internet. I am back with yet another video. What did I tell you? I'd come back. So I'm kind of done with my hiatus because all my stuff has arrived. And one of the games that I had bought during my little hiatus thing was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. And the reason why I bought Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 is because my PS2 is currently not functioning at the moment. Otherwise, I'd be doing a review on Grand Theft Auto Vice City, 3, and San Andreas, because I now have all 3 of those games for PlayStation 2. But unfortunately, another thing that I would like to quickly get out of the way is my copy of San Andreas does not work, because the copy that I bought, which I bought off of just a random ass seller off of Amazon, sent me 2 broken copies of the game. One was scratched beyond repair, and the other one was very scratched, but it would still just not work. But yeah, today's game review is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 for the original Xbox. This also came out for PC, the PS1, the PS2, GameCube, and the Nintendo 64, and I believe the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance also had variants of those. Here, out of the way. Okay. So, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 released in 2002, if I'm not mistaken. No, 2003. My bad. 2002 was, I believe, a gap year between games because this was the first Tony Hawk game to be released on a modern platform at the time. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 both got PS1, Game Boy Color, and Dreamcast ports. But Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 was the first game in the series to release for the PlayStation 2, the original Xbox, PC, and all that other crap. And Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 was kind of like a big step because we got bigger maps now, with a lot more goals apparently, because if I'm not mistaken, each map has like roughly 10 goals. Actually, no, way more than that, like 13. And Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, get this, had 16 goals per map, which unfortunately Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, I don't really like that much. My sister. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, I don't really like. Compared to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, because despite it having a campaign and despite me growing up with the game, it sucks. It is probably my least favorite of the original saga, being the first 4 games and then them going off into the fabulously released Underground 2, and American Wasteland, and all that crap. But unfortunately, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 is not really the greatest game to get into, especially if you are a newer player of the game. And also, it's just not really the greatest of the bunch. It's a good game. It's just by far one of my least favorite ones, aside from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 and HD. But Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 is beyond that. Anyway, so this game, when released, was a massive drawback, or step forward actually, for Tony Hawk games, because this one actually has more unlockable characters. At least this version has, because let's see. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 had like Jango Fett, freaking Eddie from Iron Maiden, and also there was also Kelly Slater, if I'm not mistaken, who was a surfer at the time. But yeah, this one has like Darth Maul. If I'm not mistaken, one of the mini games has Doom Guy and Shrek. This one had Darth Maul, Demoness, which if you know, you know, and this one just had a ton of content, including really, really decent maps and a really, really good soundtrack, because it had like Blitzkrieg Bop by the Ramones. It had 96 Quiet Bitter Beings by CKY. It had Wish by freaking Alien Air Farm. Which, this is probably one of if not one of my favorite soundtracks of all time, because it also had like Not the Same by Body Jar. It also had fucking what else was there? Oh yeah, Fight Like a Brave, if I'm not mistaken, was on the soundtrack, or maybe that was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, but I can't really remember. But yeah, it also had like the Pulse Markets. It also had just a ton of really kick-ass songs, including the main one, Ace of Spades by Motorhead, which is kind of crazy because like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 had fucking TNT by AC/DC. It had freaking Anarchy in the UK. It had a ton of stuff. And also further games like Tony Hawk's Proving Ground had Raining Blood, and if I'm not mistaken, it also had Paint It Black, which is funny because fun fact, Tony Hawk's Proving Ground and Guitar Hero 3 were both built on the same engine, which is why if you got a specific version of Tony Hawk's Proving Ground, you also got a demo of Guitar Hero 3. But that's aside from the point. But yeah, this just has a bunch of great levels as well, like Canada. It also had like the factory level, which is the first one. Or Foundry. Foundry is the name of the level. Or is no. So Foundry and Hangar is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Anyway, I'm going totally off topic, but my retrospective and my total review is that this is a fucking kick-ass game. I might do a more in-depth review as I go further on, but I just got this game a couple days ago, and it's also the Platinum Hits version, which is probably why I got the game for like $5. Which, if you have an original Xbox or GameCube or the PlayStation 2, I highly recommend you get this game, because it is by far one of the best, and is kind of what helped boost the popularity of the Tony Hawk games back in the day, which I mentioned it in my Rise and Fall and Rise Again Tony Hawk video, which I did because I really like the Tony Hawk games, and unfortunately it sucks that we haven't gotten very many games as of late, and it was probably because Tony Hawk Ride, Tony Hawk Shred, Downhill Jam, and like Project 8 and Proving Ground weren't really the greatest games, and also Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, and also Tony Hawk Shred was by far the worst out of the bunch, and if I'm not mistaken, they just released at a very, very, very strange time, and it's sad because I didn't like seeing the series drastically fall that far. It sucks, but aside from that, I hope you all enjoy this brief review. This one was a lot shorter and a lot iffy, and I sort of talked about how the other games sort of compared to it. But yeah, I hope you like my review or my retrospective of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Until next time, I have some other games that I'm going to be doing reviews on soon. Like, as you may have saw in my last video, I have Grand Theft Auto 3. I have Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and Vice City. So, yeah. And before I leave, just to show you how scratched both of these games are and how they came, if you can kind of see, that is scratched beyond fucking repair. And it doesn't really do very well on camera. Give me a sec. Here we go. You see that? Yeah. That's not good. That's bad. And the other copy that I got, also like that. Also scratched beyond compare. And as you can see, these are both two different copies of the same game. It sucks. So yeah, I hope you liked the video. Like and subscribe, and tell me what your thoughts on the game are, and tell me what game I should review next or do a retrospective on. Hell, I might even do a retrospective on Daggerfall. Yeah, I'm that kind of at that stage where I will literally review any game that I own. I'll review fucking Fable 2, or no, Fable 1. I'll do Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, 5. Actually, no, not 5. I'm not reviewing 5. Um, but yeah, hope you all enjoy. See you all on the next one. Bye.